I think she's Steph Curry in her long range
In her
shooting.
shoot.
Have you ever watched a superstar rise only to see them get knocked down by the very league meant to lift them up? Have you ever wondered why the WNBA, with all its talent and history, sometimes seems more interested in protecting old guard egos than celebrating new icons?
And what she unlocks for her
But
team
she's
in that
kind
way.
of Larry Bird adjacent in a way. I know she's obviously not as big.
Larry Bird, NBA legend and Hoosier hero, isn't one to stand by quietly. When he sees Caitlin Clark, arguably the biggest name in women's basketball since the WNBA began, getting shoved around, elbowed in the paint, and ignored by referees, he isn't just annoyed, he's enraged. He knows talent when he sees it, and he sees not just a phenomenal rookie, but a movement poised to redefine the sport.
Big as Larry Bird, and she's kind of like John Stockton.
I think Larry Bird's actually a real...
From her freshman season at Iowa to her debut in Indianapolis, Clark has captivated crowds, shattered viewership records, and brought unprecedented attention to the WNBA. Yet every time she steps on the court, she faces hostility. Veterans who scoff at her, refs who let cheap fouls go unpunished, and a league office whose silence speaks volumes. Larry Bird recognizes this injustice, and he's ready to do more than speak out. He's ready to build a new empire around Caitlin Clark and force the rest of the basketball world to catch up.
Good morning, everyone. Happy Friday. I still have women's college.
It all started after that fateful post-game press conference. Clark, still high from a clutch three that sealed Indiana's first Commissioner's Cup, fielded questions like a seasoned pro, until one reporter lobbed a bombshell that left her speechless. No one has ever tested her composure like that, and as the room fell silent, a legend in the back row clenched his jaw. He didn't wait for the league to respond. He didn't wait for the next scandal to blow over. He stood up, walked to the mic, and issued a challenge no one could ignore.
Basketball in the brain, so don't mind me, especially given the fact that tonight's the Final Four.
What unfolded next wasn't just another protest, it was the spark of a revolution. Bird called out cheap shots from players like Marina, exposed the WNBA's penchant for preserving status quo power structures, and laid bare the toxic culture that threatens to drive away its brightest star. He questioned why referees treat Clark differently, why veterans turn their backs, and why the league won't protect its own future. In Bird's eyes, Caitlin Clark is more than a player. She's a franchise, a brand, and a beacon of what basketball can become. Bird's message was clear. If the WNBA won't evolve, he will. No committee meetings, no internal reviews, just action. First, he's calling for immediate rule changes, stricter penalties for off-ball fouls, mandatory review of any play where Clark is the victim of obvious aggression, and transparent communication from league offices about disciplinary measures. But his vision extends far beyond tweaks to the rulebook. He's laying groundwork for a completely new team, one built from the ground up around Clark's talents, with coaching, facilities, and front office leadership laser focused on maximizing her impact.
Women's college basketball tournament. The more I
Imagine a franchise where every staff member, from the athletic trainer to the GM, answers directly to the mission of elevating Caitlin Clark's game and protecting her well-being. Picture game plans designed not just to win, but to showcase her skills on the biggest stages, to tell her story with every play. Visualize marketing campaigns that don't just promote tickets, but build a cultural phenomenon around her rise. That's the kind of empire Bird is sketching on the back of napkins in his Indiana gym. And if the WNBA continues to drag its feet, Bird hints at something even bolder, a brand new league. A league where talent trumps politics, where superfans pack arenas because they know they'll see the best players in the world treated with respect, and where innovation in broadcasting and fan engagement isn't an afterthought but the foundation. He sees a future where the game's toughest fights aren't about contracts or endorsements, but about pure basketball brilliance, free from backroom deals and outdated hierarchies. Clark herself has yet to publicly endorse Bird's vision, but those close to her say she's intrigued. She knows the risks. Being the face of a new venture isn't easy, but she also knows that staying in a league that won't defend her might be worse. Every superstar deserves a platform, but Clark deserves more. A fortress built around her talent, fortified by Bird's championship mentality and unflinching drive.
think about the phenomena surrounding Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese, especially.
Already, whispers circulate among fans. Will Caitlin Clark stay in the WNBA, or will she follow Bird into the unknown? Will the league finally wake up and roll out the red carpet, or watch its brightest star slip through its fingers? One thing is certain, the clock is ticking. Bird has set his offer on the table, and he doesn't bluff. So what's next for this basketball saga? Will the WNBA's commissioners step up and match Bird's challenge, or will they cower behind conference calls and press releases? Can a league founded on breaking barriers move fast enough to protect its biggest barrier breaker? And ultimately, will Caitlin Clark lead the revolution from inside the WNBA's hallowed halls, or take her talents to a new realm where true greatness is recognized? The stakes couldn't be higher. If the WNBA continues to treat Caitlin Clark like an inconvenient headline instead of its greatest asset, it risks alienating the very fans it needs to survive. Old school thinking wouldn't fathom building a league around a rookie, yet that is exactly the audacious move Larry Bird is proposing. He wants to construct a culture where Clark's success is synonymous with the organization's success, where her every move generates excitement rather than controversy. In this vision, her post-game interviews become must-see events, her highlights dominate social media feeds, and her jersey sales eclipse those of any past legend. The idea seems radical to some executives, too risky, too forward. But Bird knows that the greatest leaps often come from embracing risk, not shying away from it.
Given that the latter just recently declared for the WNBA draft that she should have.
Should she remain without it, or should she push forward? Her answer, in this vision, her coaching staff would show. To pull this off, Bird plans to surround Clark with veterans who understand respect and teamwork. He knows that talent alone isn't enough. You need a locker room that rallies around its leader. That means recruiting players who will protect her on the court, stand up to cheat fouls, and treat her as the franchise cornerstone. It also means hiring coaches who won't cower at the league office's whims, but will challenge referees when calls don't go her way, and will instill in every player the belief that fair play is non-negotiable. These coaches must value discipline, but also creativity, able to draw up plays that highlight Clark's passing vision and uncanny shooting range, while teaching young teammates how to move with her electric pace.
So Mark, I saw on the internet the comparison between Caitlin Clark and Larry Bird. What do you think?
Off the court, Bird's blueprint extends into community engagement. He envisions hometown clinics led by Clark herself, where aspiring players learn fundamentals directly from the league's brightest star. He imagines charity events that tie Clark's brand to meaningful causes, youth development, education, and empowerment, ensuring her influence stretches beyond the hardwood. Such initiatives would rebuild the WNBA's image, showcasing genuine investment in neighborhoods often overlooked by pro sports. Traditionalists might scoff at blending social outreach with athletic prowess, arguing that a league should stick to games. But Bird sees no contradiction. True legacies are built on impact in all arenas of life. Marketing under Bird's plan would adopt a no-nonsense approach. Forget vague slogans about empowerment. This campaign would highlight concrete achievements. Clark's record-breaking scoring nights, her buzzer beaters, her viral cross-court assists. Each commercial would tell a story of relentless effort, paying homage to the game's past legends while proclaiming a new era led by Clark. Rather than formulaic taglines, ads would pose sharp questions. When was the last time you saw a rookie rewrite the record books? Or why settle for yesterday's heroes when tomorrow's is standing before you? This direct style resonates with skeptical fans tired of corporate doublespeak. It tells it like it is. Caitlin Clark is the future, and anyone not paying attention is being left behind.
I think there is a parallel to the careers. If you think about Larry Bird.
Financially, Bird's concept demands bold investment. He's prepared to commit resources to upgrading facilities, state-of-the-art training centers, nutrition programs, and medical staff dedicated to preventing injuries. He argues that protecting Clark's body is just as crucial as promoting her brand. Without her on the court, all the hype means nothing. Critics might label such spending extravagant for a single player, but Bird sees it as foundational. By showcasing world-class preparation for the league's marquee talent, it sets a new standard for all players to aspire to. It signals that women's basketball is no longer playing catch-up, but leading the conversation on athlete care and performance. Then there's broadcasting. Bird contends that every one of Clark's games should be treated as a championship spectacle. That means primetime slots, in-depth pre- and post-game shows, and analysis panels that take her accomplishments as seriously as any NBA stars. He challenges networks to stop burying women's games on secondary channels with minimal promotion. Instead, he wants the full court advantage, top announcers, immersive camera angles, and real-time stats displays that underline Clark's historic pacing. He argues these elements not only enrich the viewing experience, but train audiences to treat women's basketball with the respect it deserves.
Bird, in college, he went to small school and led them to the...
On the digital front, Bird's proposal harnesses social media without pandering. He's wary of gimmicky challenges that fade in a week. Instead, he pushes for authentic content, behind-the-scenes locker room footage, training drills with Clark narrating her own thought process, and candid moments that reveal her grit under pressure. He wants fans to connect with her humanity, the scars from tough games, the quiet determination after a loss, the unfiltered joy after a win. Such storytelling transcends mere hype. It forges a deeper bond between player and supporter, converting casual viewers into lifelong followers. Yet Bird is not blind to potential pitfalls. He knows that making Clark the centerpiece could breed resentment among teammates or lead to unhealthy pressure on her shoulders. To mitigate this, he insists on hiring sports psychologists and veteran mentors who can guide Clark through the emotional highs and lows of stardom. He also recommends establishing team rituals that celebrate collective effort, film study nights, team dinners, and community service outings, so that every member feels valued beyond their role in Clark's story. This balance of individual spotlight and group cohesion is delicate, but Bird is confident it can be achieved with careful leadership. Of course,
NCAA championship finals and lost. What did Caitlin Clark do?
Of course, Bird's most audacious idea is the contingency plan. If the WNBA refuses to adapt, he'll launch a parallel league. This wouldn't be a hasty pop-up, it would be meticulously structured, with clear governance, player representation, and sustainable revenue models. He envisions a players' council that gives athletes a real voice in rule changes and league policies. No more opaque committees hidden behind closed doors. He'd set salary structures that reward performance and tenure, incentivize community involvement, and ensure financial security for veterans nearing retirement. In Bird's ideal world, this new league becomes a blueprint for professional sports, transparent, accountable, and fiercely committed to its stars. Naturally, such a disruptive move triggers defensive reactions. Traditionalists warn of fracturing women's basketball, diluting talent, and confusing fans. They argue that the WNBA has decades of history and simply needs incremental reforms, not a full-scale takeover. But Bird counters that patchwork fixes are what got the league here. Middling attendance, lukewarm TV ratings, and a perception that it's still growing. Incrementalism has its place, he admits, but sometimes you need a seismic shock to jolt people into action. His offer is not about tearing down the old, but building something that honors the past while embracing the future.
He went to not necessarily a small school, but not a successful school, Iowa, and she...
Behind the scenes, conversations are already underway. Agents whisper about the possibility of Clark commanding a level of compensation rivaling top NBA rookies. Sponsors cautiously explore partnerships drawn by her crossover appeal. Even rival players are weighing their options. Would they jump to a new league that promises better pay and respect, or do they stay loyal to the WNBA's legacy? These are questions only time will answer, but the mere fact they're being asked marks a turning point. A single player, backed by an unwavering legend, has everyone reevaluating how women's basketball should operate. Meanwhile, the WNBA's leadership faces a critical choice. They can choose the status quo, issue a statement supporting Clark in vague terms, enact minor rule tweaks and hope the storm passes, or they can seize this moment, publicize a partnership with Bird to co-develop a Clark initiative, pledge significant funding to upgrade game day production, and launch a transparent disciplinary process for on-court infractions. They could invite Clark and Bird to be full partners in strategic planning, signaling genuine respect for their insights. This path won't be easy. It requires ceding some control and accepting that a rookie and a retired legend might know more about growing the game than corporate executives, but the alternative is stagnation. For fans, the choice is equally clear. Will they settle for passive viewership, criticizing the league on social media but doing nothing more? Or will they demand the changes Bird outlines, attending games in record numbers, flooding networks with petitions for primetime slots, and supporting sponsors who back the movement? Real change often comes from the ground up, and Bird's blueprint depends on an energized fan base ready to stand behind Clark and hold decision makers accountable. It's a call to arms. If you care about women's basketball, your voice matters now more than ever. As the ripple effects spread, the story transcends sports.
Wonder if that's gonna help her find the rhythm, or she might peter out on the last rack.
If you're inspired by this vision, if you believe in standing up for the next generation of stars, make your voice heard. Like this video, share it with fellow fans, and leave a comment on what you think the WNBA should do next. And of course, subscribe for exclusive updates as this historic saga unfolds. The revolution is underway. Will you be part of it?